A black man in a pressed suit standing at a bus stop, checking his phone, then his watch. 1:52 p.m. 30 feet away, a young white woman beside a broken-down BMW, hands shaking, mascara running. Cars blurred past. No one stopped. The bus pulled up. Doors opened. The man looked at the bus, looked at the woman. 8 minutes to downtown. 8 minutes between hunger and hope. He canceled the Uber notification on his phone. Then he ran, not toward the interview that could save him, but toward a stranger who needed help. What he didn't know, that woman's father owned half the city. What he couldn't see, this one choice would destroy his reputation before it redeemed his life. Terrence's dress shoes slapped against hot asphalt as he ran toward the BMW. The woman looked up, mascara streaking down her face. "Miss, you okay?" She wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm fine. AAA said 90 minutes. My presentation starts at 40. Terrence glanced at the deflated tire. "You got a spare?" "I think so. I've never changed one before." "Pop the trunk." She pressed her key fob. Terrence found the spare wedged under carpeting, jack kit still sealed in plastic. His grandfather's voice whispered, "Always check the spare first, boy." This one held air. Thank God. He worked fast, loosening bolts, positioning the jack, sweat soaking through his shirt. 6 minutes until his interview. 5, 4. The woman watched him, phone trembling in her hands. "Where were you going?" she asked. "Job interview." Pause. "What time?" 2 o'clock. "It's 1:58. "I know." Just traffic noise and the wrench clicking. "You're missing it. Because of me." Terrence stood, wiping grease on his pants, his only suit pants. "You were stuck. I could help, that's enough." She stared at him. "I don't even know your name." "Terrence Blake." She fumbled for her wallet. "Please let me pay you. 200? 3? "I don't want your money, miss." "But you just—" "Have a good day." He turned toward the bus stop. "Wait." She grabbed his arm. "At least give me your number, so I can thank you properly." Something in her eyes looked genuine. He recited the digits. She typed them with shaking fingers. "I'm Sophia. Sophia Harrington." The name meant nothing to him. She sped off. Terrence stood alone, watching her taillights disappear. Then he called Westfield Distribution. 4 rings. "Westfield HR, this is Monica." "Hi, this is Terrence Blake. I had an interview at 2. There was an emergency." "Mr. Blake, your interview was at 2 p.m. It's now 2:11. "I know. A woman was stranded and I stopped to—" "We had 12 other candidates. The position's been filled." His chest squeezed. "Can I reschedule? I can come right now." "We don't do reschedules. Good luck." Click. Dead air. Cars rushing past. No one stopped. The next bus, 47 minutes away. By evening, Terrence sat in his apartment. 1 room. Mildew smell. Futon against the wall. Folding table with his laptop and 37 printed rejection emails. He still wore the grease-stained suit. His phone buzzed. FaceTime. Amara. He forced a smile before answering. "Daddy!" 8 years old, gap-toothed, birthday shirt 2 sizes too big. "Hey, baby girl. Did you get the job?" Behind her, Lisa's apartment looked clean, bright, everything he couldn't give them anymore. "Not this time, sweetheart." Her smile cracked. "But you said this was the important one." "There'll be others." "Mommy says if you don't get a job soon, Amara, go brush your teeth." Lisa's voice, off-screen. But now... The phone jostled. Lisa's face appeared. Exhausted. Done. Terrence. I tried, Liz. Trying doesn't pay for her dance classes. She stopped, breathed. I'm not doing this again. Just figure it out. She hung up. Terrence sat in the dark, then opened his laptop. Warehouse jobs near me. Delivery driver. Anything hiring immediately. 37 applications. 37 rejections. He started number 38. Across the city, Sophia stood in her father's study. Floor-to-ceiling windows, glittering skyline. Richard Harrington didn't look up from his tablet. How'd the presentation go? Good. But, Dad, something happened. I had a flat tire. This man stopped to help. Send him a gift basket. He wouldn't take money. Richard glanced up. Everyone takes money. He didn't. He was going to a job interview. He missed it. For me. Richard set down the tablet. What kind of interview? I don't know. But he looked desperate. And he still stopped. Richard picked up his phone, typed. His name? Terrence Blake. I'll have Catherine look into him. Why? Richard studied with his daughter. Because I want to know what kind of man gives up his future for a stranger. That's rare. He typed another message. Find out what that interview was for. Find out what we cost him. Morning came too early. Terrence's phone alarm screamed at 5:47 a.m. He silenced it, stared at the water-stained ceiling, and calculated. Rent due in 8 days, $43 in checking, unemployment benefits, exhausted last month. He got up. The DoorDash shift started at 6. Terrence drove his 2008 Honda with the check engine light glowing orange, delivering breakfast sandwiches to people who tipped $2 or nothing at all. By noon, he'd made $31 before gas. He parked outside the library for the free Wi-Fi and opened his laptop. Warehouse associate, Riverside Logistics. Requirements, high school diploma, ability to lift 50 paltons, clean background check. He'd lifted wounded soldiers in Kandahar. He could lift boxes. He filled out the application. Email address, phone number, employment history with the 2-year gap he couldn't explain without sounding desperate. Why do you want to work here? Because I need to eat. Because my daughter deserves better. Because I'm tired of being invisible. He typed, I'm a hard worker with military logistics experience seeking stable employment. Submit. Confirmation email. Thank you for your interest. We receive hundreds of applications. If your qualifications match our needs, we'll contact you within 2 weeks. Translation. Don't hold your breath. Terrence closed the laptop and drove to his second shift. Retail Max, the return desk, where angry customers brought back used toasters and demanded refunds. His supervisor was 19 years old and called him Chief. Chief, can you cover Register 4? Denise called out. Sure. He stood for 6 hours, scanning barcodes, smiling at people who didn't see him, going home with $62 minus taxes. That night, Dante, his nephew, not his son, he reminded himself, video called while Terrence heated ramen on a hot plate. Uncle T, Mom's asking if you can help with my school stuff. Field trip's $50. Terrence stirred the noodles. When's it due? Friday. 3 days, $43 in the bank. I'll figure it out, D. You always say that. Dante's voice carried no accusation, just fact. He was 14, old enough to recognize empty promises. I mean it this time. Sure. Pause. Uncle T, you okay? I'm good, nephew. You focus on school. After Dante hung up, Terrence ate standing up, looking out the window at the parking lot below. A couple walked to their car, laughing about something. The man opened the door for the woman. Simple, easy, the kind of life that happened to other people. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Terrence almost didn't answer. Probably a scam about his car's extended warranty, but something made him swipe. Hello? Mr. Blake, this is Catherine Yu. I'm calling on behalf of Richard Harrington. Terrence's mind went blank. I'm sorry, who? The father of the woman you assisted on Highway 95, Sophia Harrington. The BMW. The flat tire. 3 days ago. Oh, yeah, is she okay? She's fine, thanks to you. Mr. Harrington would like to meet you in person, to thank you properly. That's not necessary, ma'am, I was just helping. He insists. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. I can send a car to pick you up. Terrence looked around his apartment, at the futon, the hot plate, the rejection emails. I appreciate it, but I'm not really... I don't think that's... Mr. Harrington is a very busy man, Mr. Blake. He's making time specifically for you. It would mean a great deal to him. Something in her voice suggested this wasn't really a request. Where? Harrington Tower, downtown. The car will arrive at 9:30. I can take the bus. The car is already arranged. 9:30 a.m. Is that acceptable? Terrence closed his eyes. Rich people wanting to thank him probably meant a handshake and a gift card, maybe enough to cover Dante's field trip. Yeah, okay. Excellent. The driver will call when he arrives. Have a good evening, Mr. Blake. She hung up before he could respond. Terrence stood in his kitchen holding the phone, ramen going cold, and Googled Richard Harrington. The first result made his stomach drop. Richard Harrington, CEO, Harrington Industries. Net worth, $8.3 billion. Real estate, technology, venture capital. The second result, a photo. Richard Harrington in a tailored suit, standing in front of a glass tower that looked like it cost more than Terrence would make in 10 lifetimes. The third result, Harrington Industries acquires Westfield Distribution Center. Terrence read that line 3 times. Westfield. The company that rejected him. The company this billionaire owned. He set the phone down carefully, like it might explode, and stared at the wall. What the hell did I just walk into? The black Mercedes arrived at 9:28 a.m. Terrence watched from his window as the driver stepped out, checking his phone. Terrence had been ready since 8. He'd scrubbed the grease stains from his suit pants with dish soap. They were still visible. His shirt was wrinkled, no iron. His shoes had a crack in the left sole. This was the best he had. The driver called. Mr. Blake, I'm downstairs. Be right there. 3 flights down, elevator broken for 2 months. The driver opened the back door without a word. The car smelled like leather and money. They drove through downtown, past bus stops where Terrence usually waited, past streets he walked when gas ran out. The city looked different from inside a Mercedes, cleaner, like a postcard version of the place he actually lived. Harrington Tower rose 48 floors into the cloudless sky. Glass and steel, reflecting the sun like a mirror pointed at God. Terrence had walked past this building 100 times, never imagining he'd go inside. The lobby felt like a museum. Marble floors, abstract art, people in $1,000 suits moving with confidence that came from never worrying about rent. A woman approached, Asian, mid-30s, carrying a tablet. Mr. Blake? Yes, ma'am. Catherine Yu, we spoke on the phone. Firm handshake. Follow me. Private elevator, smooth ascent. Catherine swiped a key card. Button 48 lit up. Mr. Harrington is looking forward to meeting you. I'm still not sure why. He'll explain. The doors opened directly into an office covering half the floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped 3 walls. The city sprawled below like a kingdom. Terrence could see his neighborhood, a gray smudge in the distance. Richard Harrington stood by the window, phone to his ear. He held up one finger, 1 minute, continuing his call about quarterly projections. His suit probably cost more than Terrence's car. Terrence stood near the door, hands clasped, trying not to touch anything. Richard ended the call and turned. Tall, late 50s, silver hair. Eyes studying Terrence like a jeweler studies a diamond. Mr. Blake. Richard crossed the room, hand extended. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the car, sir. Please, sit. Richard gestured to a leather chair. Coffee? Water? I'm fine, thank you. Richard sat across from him, leaning forward. My daughter told me what you did, missing your interview to help her. It wasn't a big deal. It was to her, to me. Pause. I looked into your situation. The interview was at Westfield Distribution. Yes, sir. I own that building. Air left the room. You... What? Harrington Industries acquired Westfield 18 months ago. I sit on their board. Something shifted in Richard's eyes. I called them. Asked why you weren't rescheduled. They said you were unreliable. Terrence's jaw clenched. I explained what happened. They didn't care. I know. Richard walked to the window, looked out over the city. My daughter said you wouldn't take money. Why? I didn't help her for money. Most people would have taken it. I'm not most people. Richard turned back. No, you're not. He returned to his chair, elbows on knees. Mr. Blake, why did you stop that day? You had everything to lose. Terrence met his eyes. She needed help. I could give it. That's enough reason. Richard stared at him for a long moment, then nodded, like Terrence had passed a test he didn't know he was taking. Mr. Blake, how would you feel about a job? Terrence blinked. A job? Director of Community Relations at the Harrington Foundation. $85,000 a year. Full benefits. Company car. Richard said it like he was ordering lunch, casual and certain. Terrence's mind stuttered. 85,000. He'd made 32 last year, cobbled together from gig work and retail. I don't understand. It's straightforward. The foundation focuses on education access, affordable housing, workforce development. We need someone who understands what it's like to need those things. Someone who makes decisions based on people, not spreadsheets. You don't know me. I know you gave up your future for my daughter. I know Westfield rejected you for being 11 minutes late to help a stranger. I know you have a clean military record, an honorable discharge, and 37 job applications in 4 months. Richard leaned back. I know enough. Terrence felt his chest tighten. This wasn't real. Things like this didn't happen to people like him. Mr. Harrington, I appreciate this, but you think this is charity, isn't it? Richard stood, walked to his desk, picked up a folder. Let me tell you what charity looks like. Charity is writing a check and feeling good about yourself. Charity is fixing a problem you'll never experience. He opened the folder. This is your military file. 4 years, logistics coordinator. You managed supply chains for 3 forward operating bases. 0 errors. 2 commendations. He flipped a page. This is your employment history. Warehouse supervisor at Grandel Logistics for 6 years. You improved efficiency by 18%. Reduced workplace injuries by 32%. Then the company downsized and you were let go with 2 weeks severance. Richard closed the folder. You're not a charity case, Mr. Blake. You're overqualified for half the positions you've applied to and rejected by the other half because... He stopped himself. Because what? Terrence's voice was quiet but steady. Richard met his eyes. Because the system is broken. Because your zip code shows up on background checks. Because your name sounds a certain way. Because you took 2 years off to care for your daughter after your divorce and nobody wants to hear that story. He set the folder down. I'm not offering you charity. I'm offering you what you should have had all along. A chance. Terrence sat very still. Nobody had ever said these things out loud before. Everyone danced around them, smiled politely, sent the same rejection email. Why me? Because character matters. Because I built my fortune on recognizing value others overlook. Richard returned to his chair. And because when I watched the dash cam footage of you running across that highway, checking your watch every 10 seconds, I saw something I don't see often anymore. Integrity that costs something. You have dash cam footage? Sophia had a new security system installed. The camera runs continuously. Richard pulled out his phone, turned it toward Terrence. Watch. The video played. There was Terrence at the bus stop. There was Sophia's BMW, tire flat. The bus pulling up. Terrence looking back and forth, the exact moment of decision visible on his face. Then him running, dodging traffic, getting to work immediately. You checked your watch 6 times in 4 minutes, Richard said. You knew exactly what you were losing. You did it anyway. Terrence watched himself on the screen, this strange third-person view of the worst and best decision he'd ever made. Mr. Blake, I'm going to be direct. I don't need you to be grateful. I need you to be honest. Can you do this job? Terrence thought about the Foundation's mission. Education access. He'd fought for 2 years to finish his own degree before money ran out. Affordable housing. He lived it every day. Workforce development. He'd sent 37 applications into the void. Yes, he said, I can do it. Good. But I need to know something first. Why didn't you take Sophia's money? Because that's not why I stopped. But you needed it. Terrence looked out at the city sprawling below, at the gray smudge where his apartment sat. My grandfather used to say something. He said, the day you start measuring kindness in dollars is the day you stop being kind. He turned back to Richard. I stopped because it was right. Taking money would have made it a transaction. Richard was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Genuinely, not the polite smile of business. Your grandfather was a wise man. He was a mechanic who never made more than $30,000 a year, but he was the richest person I ever knew. I would have liked to meet him. He would have changed your tire for free, too. Richard laughed, surprising both of them. Mr. Blake, I'm going to be honest with you about something. This job is real. The salary is real. But there's going to be pushback. People will say you don't deserve it, that you manipulated the situation, that I'm doing this because it makes me look good. Are you? Am I what? Doing this to look good? Richard considered the question seriously. No, I'm doing this because Sophia came home that day and cried, not because she was scared on the highway, because she was devastated that helping her cost you everything. She said, Dad, what kind of world punishes people for being decent? He paused. And I didn't have a good answer. This is my answer. Terrence felt something shift in his chest. Not gratitude exactly. Something deeper. Recognition, maybe. That someone with power had chosen to use it for something other than more power. If I take this job, I'm going to do it right. Not because you gave it to me, because I earned it. I expect nothing less. Richard extended his hand. Do we have a deal? Terrence looked at the hand, thought about Amara asking if he got the job, about Dante's field trip, about 37 rejections and one yes that came from the strangest place imaginable. He shook Richard's hand. We have a deal. Richard's grip was firm. Catherine will handle the paperwork. You start Monday. She'll get you set up with an office, introduce you to the team, walk you through current projects. Monday. Terrence repeated it, testing how it sounded. Real. Terrifying. Possible. One more thing. Richard picked up his phone, typed quickly. I'm having a conversation with Westfield's HR department about their hiring practices and their definition of unreliable. You don't have to. I know. But character isn't just what you do when no one is watching. It's what you do when everyone is watching, and you still choose what's right. Richard looked up from his phone. They rejected a good man for a bad reason. That needs to be addressed. Terrence stood. His legs felt strange, like the ground had shifted. Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Richard. And you don't need to thank me, Terrence. You earned this the moment you stepped off that curb. Catherine appeared in the doorway, tablet ready. Shall we handle the paperwork? Terrence followed her out, but at the door he turned back. Richard had returned to the window, phone to his ear, already moving on to the next problem. But he caught Terrence's eye and nodded. In the elevator going down, Catherine smiled. Congratulations, you're going to do great. Terrence looked at his reflection in the polished elevator doors. Same wrinkled shirt, same cracked shoes. But something in his face had changed. He pulled out his phone and called Dante. Uncle T? Hey, D. About that field trip money? 3 months passed, like a dream Terrence kept waiting to wake up from. His office sat on the 7th floor, smaller than Richard's but with windows that opened. Real wood desk. A nameplate. Terrence Blake, Director of Community Relations. He touched it every morning to make sure it was real. The work came naturally. Reviewing grants, visiting housing projects, meeting workforce programs. When a single mother applying for education funding broke down crying, he didn't offer platitudes. He approved her application and connected her with childcare resources. You get it, she'd said. Most people in these buildings don't. I get it, he replied. His first paycheck felt obscene. More than 6 months of gig work combined. He paid 3 months' rent in advance, bought Dante's field trip ticket, took Amara to dinner at a restaurant with tablecloths. Daddy, are we rich now? Amara had asked, spinning spaghetti. We're stable. That's better than being rich. The company car sat in assigned parking. Modest sedan, nothing flashy, but it started every time. Small mercies that felt like luxuries. Sophia stopped by sometimes with coffee. They'd become friends, the strange intimacy of shared crisis creating unexpected bonds. You're doing amazing work, she said one afternoon, reviewing his report. The housing initiative placed 70 families. It's a start. It's more than a start. She smiled. Dad knew what he was doing. Terrence leaned back in his chair and looked out the window. He could see his old neighborhood, that gray smudge in the distance. The difference was, now he didn't live there. 2-bedroom apartment. Safer building. Amara had her own room for weekends. For the first time in years, Terrence Blake could breathe. He should have known it wouldn't last. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, sent to every employee at Harrington Foundation, and forwarded to Harrington Industries headquarters. Subject line: Ethics concern, transparency. Required. Terrence opened it, coffee halfway to his lips. It has come to our attention that Terrence Blake, recently appointed Director of Community Relations, received his position through personal connection to CEO Richard Harrington's daughter rather than standard hiring procedures. While we appreciate Mr. Harrington's gratitude for assistance provided to his family, using company resources to reward personal favors raises questions about fairness and merit-based advancement. We believe in transparency and equal opportunity for all candidates. This situation should be reviewed by the Board Ethics Committee, sent anonymously by concerned employees. The coffee mug hit the desk harder than Terrence intended. Liquid sloshed over the rim. His phone buzzed. Catherine. Have you seen the email? Just read it. Don't respond. Don't talk to anyone. Richard wants to see you in 20 minutes. She hung up before he could answer. Terrence sat very still, reading the email again. Every word felt like a scalpel, precise and cutting. Personal connection. Reward personal favors. Questions about fairness. His office door opened. Marcus from accounting stood there, expression carefully neutral. Hey, man. Just wanted to say, ignore the noise. People are jealous. Thanks. Marcus hesitated. For what it's worth, you've done good work. He left before Terrence could respond. The whispers started immediately. Terrence could feel them in the hallway, in the break room, in the careful way people avoided eye contact. By noon, someone had leaked the story to a local business blog. Billionaire's favor. When helping means hiring. The article was worse than the email. It called Terrence unqualified. Said he leveraged a roadside encounter into an executive position. Quoted anonymous sources saying morale had dropped because connections matter more than competence. Terrence's phone exploded with texts. Lisa, is this true? Did you get this job because you helped some rich girl? Dante, Uncle T, kids at school are showing me articles. What's happening? Even Amara's school sent a message. We've noticed some online attention regarding your employment. Please let us know if this affects Amara's enrollment status. His enrollment status. Like his daughter might suddenly not belong because her father was accused of being a fraud. Terrence closed his laptop and walked to the elevator. Rode 41 floors to Richard's office in silence. Two executives got on at 15, saw him, and got off at 16 without pressing a button. Catherine met him outside Richard's door. He's on a call with the board chair. It'll be a minute. What's happening? Victor Lansing called an emergency ethics review. He's pushing for your suspension pending investigation. Who's Victor Lansing? Board member. Corporate attorney. He's been trying to force Richard out for 2 years. Catherine's face was grim. This is his opening. The door opened. Richard stood there, phone in hand, jaw tight. Come in. The office felt different now, colder. Richard gestured to a chair but didn't sit himself. He paced to the window, back to his desk, to the window again. I'm sorry, Richard said finally. For what? For not seeing this coming. For not protecting you better. He turned. Victor Lansing leaked that email. We're sure of it. He has connections at Westfield. Their parent company is one of our competitors. He's been waiting for ammunition. So I'm ammunition. You're a target. There's a difference. Richard sat, leaned forward. Terrence, I need you to understand something. This has nothing to do with your work. Your quarterly report is flawless. The families you've housed, the grants you've approved, you've done more in 3 months than your predecessor did in 2 years. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because people think I didn't earn this. Some people will always think that. The question is, do you? Terrence looked at his hands, thought about the single mother in his office, crying, the 70 families with roofs over their heads, the workforce programs connecting people to real jobs. I know I earned this, but knowing it and proving it are different things. Richard's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, jaw tightening further. The board wants a meeting. Tomorrow. They're calling it a review of hiring practices. He set the phone down hard enough to make a sound. Victor's going to push for your termination. Maybe I should just resign. Absolutely not. I'm causing problems. You're exposing problems. That's different. Richard stood again, moved to the window. Do you know what Victor said to me last week? He said our foundation was too focused on people who don't help the bottom line. He wanted to redirect funds to corporate scholarship programs. You know, the kind where rich kids get money for being rich. Terrence said nothing. I told him no. I told him the foundation exists to help people the system has failed. People like you. Richard turned. That's why he's doing this. Not because you don't deserve the job. Because you do. And that terrifies him. Why? Because if you succeed, it proves I'm right. It proves character matters more than pedigree. It proves someone from your background can do this job better than someone from his. Richard walked back to his desk. Victor doesn't want fairness. He wants confirmation that the system works exactly as it always has. Terrence's phone buzzed again. Another text from Lisa. The kids are seeing this stuff online. Maybe you should come get Amara. His daughter, 8 years old, reading articles calling her father a fraud. I can't let her go through this, Terrence said quietly. Then we fight. Tomorrow, at the board meeting, we show them exactly who you are and what you've done. Richard sat down. But I need to know you're willing to fight, because this is going to get uglier before it gets better. Terrence thought about the roadside, about choosing to help when no one was watching, about his grandfather saying kindness couldn't be measured in dollars. I'm willing to fight, but not for me. Then for what? For every person who gets rejected for being 11 minutes late. For everyone told they're not qualified because their resume has the wrong zip code. For my daughter, so she never thinks doing the right thing means getting punished. Terrence met Richard's eyes. That's what I'll fight for. Richard smiled, not the polite business smile, but something genuine. Then we're going to win. But when Terrence left the office and rode the elevator down, passing employees who wouldn't meet his eyes, he wasn't sure winning was possible. Outside, a news van sat in the parking lot. This was about to get much worse. Terrence didn't sleep. He sat at his kitchen table reviewing 3 months of work. Every grant, every report, every email, building a defense from spreadsheets. At 2 a.m., his phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Blake, Patricia Cole, board chair. Her voice was measured. Off the record, Victor Lansing doesn't speak for everyone. Some of us reviewed your work. It's impressive. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Victor has 3 board members with him. Tomorrow will be difficult, but not impossible. Defend your character, not just qualifications. That's what this is really about. She hung up. At 6 a.m., Catherine called. Richard's office, now. Whoa. When Terrence arrived, 4 people waited. Richard, Catherine, Sophia, and a woman with reading glasses holding accordion folders. Terrence, Meet Janet Reeves, head of legal. Janet nodded. Mr. Blake, we pulled records. Something interesting. She opened a folder. Westfield distribution hiring data, 5 years. Demographics, 89% white, 7% Asian, 3% black, 1% Hispanic. She pulled out highlighted documents. 42 discrimination complaints, all dismissed, all buried. Richard leaned forward. Monica Vance, the HR manager who rejected you? 8 complaints about racial bias. The company settled the 2 quietly. Terrence felt coldness settle in his stomach. So it wasn't just me. Never just you. Sophia spoke. Show him the rest. Janet opened the second folder. Victor Lansing, board member since 2019, also sits on Westfield's parent company board, Summit Logistics. Financial records appeared. Summit is Harrington Industries' primary competitor. If Victor destabilizes Richard's leadership, Summit benefits. Corporate warfare, Catherine said. You're collateral damage. Not collateral, Richard corrected. You're the weapon. Victor wants to prove I make emotional decisions, not business ones, that I'm unfit to lead. Terrence studied the folders. What do we do? We expose everything, at the board meeting, but we need more than documents. Janet closed the folders. We need testimony. From who? Sophia pulled out her phone. People you've helped. The single mother you approved for education funding wants to speak. 3 families from Housing Initiative. 2 workforce directors. She smiled. They're telling the board what you're worth. I can't ask them. You're not asking. They volunteered. Because you changed their lives. Sophia's voice was firm. They won't let someone destroy you for it. Richard stood. The meeting starts at 2. Victor presents first, calls it ethics review, but it's character assassination. Then we present. He looked at Terrence. But the most important testimony is yours. Can you do it? Terrence thought about the roadside, about Amara, about his grandfather's voice. Yes. Good. 7 hours. Let's use them. They rehearsed all morning. Janet played Victor, throwing accusations. Catherine coached board protocol. Sophia compiled testimonials. At noon, Dante texted, Uncle T, I made something. Check email. Terrence opened the video file. Dante's face filled the screen, sitting in a library. Hi, I'm Dante Morrison. Terrence Blake is my uncle. I want to tell you why he's a hero. 3 minutes. Dante talking about field trips, tutoring, and kept promises. At the end, he held up a photo. Terrence in army uniform, younger, smiling. This man served his country, raised his daughter, helps people because that's who he is. If you fire him, you're not judging his work. You're punishing his character. That's wrong. Video ended. Terrence sat very still, phone in hand, trying not to cry in a conference room full of people preparing for war. Sophia touched his shoulder. You're not alone. At 1:45 p.m., they walked to the boardroom. Terrence wore the same suit from the day he changed Sophia's tire. Cleaned, pressed, grease stains faded but visible if you knew where to look. He left them there on purpose. A reminder of where this started. The boardroom sat on the 48th floor, glass walls overlooking the city like a courtroom in the clouds. 12 leather chairs around a table that could seat 20. 8 board members present. Victor Lansing at the far end, silver hair perfectly styled, expression carved from marble. Terrence took his seat beside Richard. Across the table, Victor shuffled papers with theatrical precision. Patricia Cole called the meeting to order. We're here to review concerns raised about hiring practices at Harrington Foundation, specifically regarding Terrence Blake's appointment as Director of Community Relations. She looked at Victor. Mr. Lansing, you called this meeting. Please present your case. Victor stood, buttoning his suit jacket. Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to be clear. This isn't personal. This is about accountability. He clicked a remote. A presentation appeared on the screen behind him. Terrence Blake, no college degree, 7 months unemployed before his appointment. Previous position, warehouse supervisor, a role requiring no management credentials beyond logistics. Victor's voice was smooth, practiced. His sole qualification? He changed a tire for Mr. Harrington's daughter. He advanced the slide. Standard protocol requires posting positions publicly, conducting multiple interviews, checking references. None of this occurred. Mr. Blake was hired within 48 hours of meeting Mr. Harrington. No other candidates were considered, no competitive process. Terrence kept his hands flat on the table, trying to breathe evenly. Now, I understand gratitude. I understand wanting to reward kindness. But using corporate resources to settle personal debts. Victor paused for effect. That's not leadership. That's nepotism dressed as charity. He clicked again. News articles appeared. Billionaire's favor, when helping means hiring. Morale concerns at Harrington Foundation. This has created a PR crisis. Employee morale has declined. Our competitors are using this as evidence of poor judgment. The Foundation's credibility is at stake. Victor turned to face Terrence directly. Mr. Blake, I'm sure you're a decent man, but decency doesn't qualify you for an executive position. I move that we terminate his employment effective immediately and conduct a proper search for his replacement. Silence fell heavy. Patricia looked at Richard. Mr. Harrington, your response? Richard stood slowly. Victor's presentation was very polished, lots of impressive words, accountability, protocol, credibility. He walked to the window, turned back. But he left out some important context. Janet? Janet Reeves stood, opened her first folder. Let's talk about protocol. Westfield Distribution, where Mr. Blake interviewed before helping Sophia. Their hiring data. She distributed packets to each board member. 89% white hires over 5 years. 42 discrimination complaints dismissed without investigation. The HR manager who rejected Mr. Blake, Monica Vance, has 8 formal complaints about racial bias. The company settled 2 lawsuits quietly. Victor's jaw tightened. What does Westfield have to do with... You sit on Summit Logistics Board, Janet interrupted. Summit owns Westfield. You're attacking Mr. Blake's credentials while sitting on the board of a company that systematically rejects qualified candidates like him. She opened the second folder. Mr. Blake's military record, 4 years active duty, logistics coordinator for 3 forward operating bases, 0 errors, 2 commendations, honorable discharge. She looked at Victor. No management credentials. He managed supply chains in a war zone. Patricia studied the documents. Other board members leaned in, reading. And his work here? Janet pulled out Terrence's quarterly report. 3 months. 70 families are housed through the Affordable Housing Initiative. Education grants approved for 46 applicants. Previous approval rate was 18 per quarter. Workforce program partnerships increased by 30%. She set the report down. These aren't the results of someone unqualified. These are the results of someone who understands the mission because he lived it. Victor stood again. Good. Numbers can be manipulated. Can testimonies be manipulated? Sophia stood, pulling out her phone. Because I have 12 voice messages from people Mr. Blake helped. People whose lives changed because someone finally understood their struggles. She played one. A woman's voice filled the room. My name is Jennifer Martinez. 3 months ago, I was sleeping in my car with my 2 kids. Mr. Blake didn't just approve my housing application. He connected me with job training, childcare resources, helped me get my kids enrolled in school. We have an apartment now. I start a full-time job Monday. He saw me as a person, not a statistic. Sophia played another, an older man. Terrence Blake helped me get workforce retraining after I was laid off at 57. Every other program said I was too old. He said I was too valuable to waste. I'm employed again, first time in 3 years. 5 testimonies. 5 lives changed. Victor's face reddened. This is emotional manipulation. This is an impact. Richard's voice cut through. You want to talk about qualifications. Let me tell you what qualifies someone for this work. Not an MBA from an Ivy League school, not family connections or country club memberships. He looked at each board member. What qualifies someone is knowing what it means to choose between rent and groceries. To send out 40 applications and hear nothing back. To be judged by your zip code instead of your character. He turned to Terrence. Stand up. Terrence stood, legs uncertain. See those stains on his pants? Richard pointed to the faded grease marks. Those are from the day he changed my daughter's tire. The day he missed the only job interview he'd gotten in 4 months. He wore this suit today on purpose, to remind us where this started. Richard's voice carried across the room. He didn't help Sophia for a reward. He helped her because she needed help. And when I offered him this job, he asked me if it was for charity. He wanted to earn it, and he has. Patricia Cole spoke. Mr. Lansing, you've made serious allegations. But the evidence suggests Mr. Blake is not only qualified, but exceptional at his work. Unless you have additional concerns? Victor's eyes narrowed. I have concerns about judgment, about Richard Harrington using company resources for personal vendettas. Personal vendettas? Richard's voice went cold. Like the one you're waging because Summit Logistics wants my position? Because they promised you CEO if you destabilize this board? Victor went pale. Richard pulled out his phone, set it on the table. I have emails, Victor, between you and Summit's CFO, discussing how to create opportunity by exposing Harrington's weaknesses. Terrence isn't your target, I am. He's just the easiest weapon you could find. The room erupted in murmurs. Patricia slammed her hand on the table. Order! She looked at Victor. Is this true? Victor stood frozen. I'll take that as confirmation. Patricia's voice turned to ice. Victor Lansing, effective immediately, you are removed from this board pending investigation into conflicts of interest and breach of fiduciary duty. You have 1 hour to collect your belongings. Victor started to speak, but Patricia held up her hand. Security will escort you out if necessary. Victor grabbed his papers and walked out, door slamming behind him. Patricia turned to Terrence. Mr. Blake, on behalf of this board, I apologize. Your position is secure. Your work speaks for itself. She looked around the table. All in favor of retaining Mr. Blake and commending his performance? 8 hands rose. Unanimous. Patricia nodded. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Board members stood, several approaching Terrence with handshakes and apologies. Richard clapped him on the shoulder, but it was Patricia who pulled Terrence aside. Mr. Blake, I'm going to say something off the record. She removed her glasses. I've sat on this board for 12 years. I've watched qualified people get passed over for connections. I've watched the system protect itself. She put her glasses back on. Today that changed, Not because Richard fought for you, because you proved character matters more than pedigree. Don't forget that. Outside the boardroom, Sophia hugged him. Catherine smiled. Janet packed her folders, victorious. Terrence pulled out his phone and called Dante. Uncle T? It's over, D. I won. I knew you would. How? Because you're a hero. I told them that. Terrence closed his eyes, standing in a hallway worth millions, wearing a suit stained with proof of who he was. Thanks, nephew. 6 months later, the Harrington Foundation held its annual gala. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet, 500 guests raising money for education and housing initiatives. Terrence stood backstage in a rented tuxedo, adjusting his bow tie. You look fine, Sophia said, appearing beside him in a midnight blue gown. Stop fidgeting. I don't do speeches. You do now. You're receiving the Founders Award. That's excessive. The board voted unanimously. You earned it. She smiled. Stop arguing. Patricia Cole took the microphone on stage. Tonight we honor someone who reminds us why this foundation exists. Someone who recognizes humanity in action. She gestured toward the wings. Please welcome Terrence Blake. Applause erupted. Terrence walked out, stage lights blinding. Patricia handed him a glass plaque engraved with his name. Thank you, he began. Then he saw them, front row. Amara in a purple dress, beaming. Dante giving a thumbs up. Lisa, his ex-wife, smiling genuinely. His voice steadied. 6 months ago, people questioned whether I belonged here, whether I earned this position. He paused. Truth is, I asked the same questions. Quiet laughter rippled through the crowd. But then I met Jennifer Martinez, who went from sleeping in her car to managing a store. Marcus Carter, who retrained at 57 and now mentors others. 70 families with keys to affordable apartments. His voice grew stronger. They didn't care about my credentials. They cared that I understood, that I'd been where they were. He looked at Richard. Someone once told me that character isn't what you do when people are watching. It's what you do when no one is watching. Terrence held up the plaque. I changed attire because it was right, not because I expected anything back. But life gave me something anyway. Proof that doing right still matters. That kindness isn't weakness. That fairness isn't luck. He found Amara's eyes. It's a choice we make every single day. Thunderous applause. Afterward, Amara threw her arms around his waist. Daddy, I'm so proud of you. Terrence knelt down, eye level. I'm proud of you too, baby girl. Dante approached. Uncle T, I've been thinking about college. I want to study social work, like you. Like me? You changed people's lives. I want to do that too. Terrence pulled his nephew into a hug. Richard appeared with champagne, handed one to Terrence. To second chances. To first chances, Terrence corrected, for people who never got them. They clinked glasses. Later, Terrence drove to Highway 95, to the spot where everything changed. A small memorial marker stood there now, in honor of everyday courage. When you see someone who needs help, stop. Terrence touched the cool metal. His phone buzzed. Patricia Cole. Board meeting next week. Expanding housing initiative nationwide. Your proposal, your leadership. Interested? He typed, yes. Looking at the highway stretching into darkness, he remembered choosing a stranger over his future. Turns out, he'd chosen both. 3 years later, Terrence stood in his new house. 3 bedrooms. Small yard. Amara had her own room permanently. Lisa agreed to shared custody. The housing initiative grew from 1 city to 12. 1,500 families were housed. 300 workforce programs launched. The Harrington Foundation became a national model. Dante graduated high school with a full scholarship to study social work. His essay opened, "My uncle taught me heroism isn't loud. It's quiet, consistent, showing up when no one's watching." Richard retired, named Terrence to the executive board. Sophia became CEO, launched Second Chance Employment, reforming discriminatory hiring nationwide. The Highway 95 Memorial became a pilgrimage site. People left notes, flowers, and stories of their own roadside moments. One read, "I stopped today, helped someone, missed my daughter's recital, worth it." Terrence visited sometimes, standing where his life pivoted. He'd learned something. The best decisions aren't measured in what you gain, but in who you become when you choose someone else's need over your own. Character isn't what you do when people are watching. It's what you do when no one is, and you do it anyway. Have you ever made a choice that cost you everything, but you'd make it again? Share your story in the comments. If this moved you, like and subscribe. Your support helps us prove character still counts.